Hi, I'm Jill Johnson Young. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in Riverside, California. And today I wanted to speak into the families coping with dementia while coping with COVID. This is a video for both those of you who are the caregivers or the direct providers, supporters of someone with dementia, as well as those of you who are on the periphery, maybe those out-of-state relatives who are worried about your person with dementia, but are not the ones making the decisions and not the ones doing the care. There are a lot of concerns about dementia and COVID. Number one, of course, is if someone's in a facility, they may be at risk of catching COVID. We know that. We know what the numbers are. Those of you who are the ones making the decisions to have someone in a facility or to place someone, I want you not to allow yourselves to be blamed by others for having to make that decision. Nobody makes that decision lightly. Generally, we try really hard to keep people home as long as we can, or in their home as long as they can. But dementia is a very difficult illness. It changes the brain, it changes responses. It can make loved ones who have always been gentle dangerous to you, to caregivers, to themselves. It can cause them to start fires. It can cause them to wander. It can cause all kinds of issues. We don't want people living alone or with caregivers who they won't listen to if they're not safe. And so sometimes placement is the only option. Or sometimes they've become a total care patient, and you're not a caregiver who can lift someone physically when they have fallen or even when they're in bed and they need to be moved and bathed and changed. So if you have to do a placement, I want you to really not hear the criticism from other people if you have looked at all your options and there's nothing left. I don't know anybody who is coming down with dementia who has ever said, I want my family to keep me home to the point of hurting their own health. And I have worked with a lot of people with dementia. That's one of my specialties. People come to see me because they fear that that might be what's going on. And we prepare for what's going to happen to their life and help them make decisions for themselves because it's their decision-making process. Not once has one said, you keep me home no matter what, no matter if you can do it or not. I want you to also keep in mind that the statistics are very clear, that many times caregivers die before the person with dementia dies. And that's because they wear themselves out, they are too stressed, and they don't take care of themselves as a result. They make sure that their loved one with dementia gets all the doctor appointments. They don't get themselves there. If it's a necessity, then you do what's necessary. If they're in placement and you can't bring them home, and there aren't other arrangements to be made, then you remind yourself you did what you had to do, that the facility is certainly going to protect them to the best of their ability, and that you are not in a place where you can stop a pandemic all by yourself. For those of you who are outside watching, which is frequent because we can't all live where our loved ones are, can we? I want you to understand that placing your loved one in a facility was in all likelihood not the first choice of the family members who made it. I also want you to know that the research says that even after you have placed someone, even after you've given all that thought and gotten them to the very best place that you can do, and they are in 24-hour caregiving situation, your loved one who's been their primary care provider is still not sleeping well. They're still sleeping with the phone right next to them. They're listening for that call. They're going and visiting, even if they can't get in. They are always concerned. They wake up and they call in the morning and they call before bedtime. Caregivers, even when someone goes to placement, don't stop being caregivers, and their stress doesn't stop. They didn't place because they wanted a vacation. They placed because they didn't have it in them anymore. And expecting any more of them is not fair. If you are not the primary provider, may I suggest that your role should be to support whichever family member has been making the decisions, to make sure they're getting cards and letters telling them, "Attaboy, good job," delivering the occasional takeout meal to their house as a surprise, helping to lighten their load. And if you have a family member who's doing primary care, who has that loved one in their house, and you are not able to be present, then know that during COVID, it's become even harder for them, even more frightening. There's even less sleep. And so anything you can do to be supportive is a step in the right direction. No, you probably can't fly out to see your loved one because you'd have to be in quarantine in most places right now to be able to do so. Your visits would be on a lawn or through a door or a window. But you can do a Zoom call or use your iPhone or iPad or order all the newest technology from Google or Amazon, and you can just have conversations or at least face-to-face time with your loved one. They may not understand it, but you can see them. And when you talk to them, if you do, make sure that you're prepared, that you know what their level of functioning is. If you need assistance as to how to talk to someone with dementia, look up Teppa Snow. She's also here on YouTube. Teepa, Snow. You'll also find her on my website, www.jilljohnsonyoung.com, where I have information on all the dementias and support for all the dementias. Because there are a lot of them, and they're all unique and different, and your family who are taking care of your loved one, they need the support that you can provide from wherever you are. Send them the meals, send them the cards, tell them thank you. Send some flowers occasionally. Send them chocolate. Do something to show them that you really recognize how hard this is, how expensive this is in terms of both money and emotional and physical health. And that since you can't be there to do it for whatever the reason is, and there's no blame about that, you can support them in doing what they are doing for your loved one. Caring for someone with dementia is hard work. It never stops. Dementia doesn't go to sleep. You never know when you wake up what kind of day it's going to be. You don't know what the afternoon's going to be from the morning. And you certainly don't know if there's going to be any sleep at night. So for those who are caregivers, I salute you. And you know that you should do whatever you need to do so that you get through this to the best of your ability. For those of you who are watching from the outside, please be all that you can be in support of the loved ones who are circling around your loved one with dementia. You will never know how much it matters to them. Thanks for listening, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel and find me on Facebook and on my website. There's always updates, and there's a lot about dementia. There's also a link to my dementia page.